So it was written by James Lander Cathcart, who was the U.S. consul in Tripoli, to the Secretary of State in May 1800. And he's writing to explain that the Bashaw, or the leader of Tripoli, has become very unhappy with treaty arrangements. Americans were trying to trade in the Mediterranean, particularly with European countries. So they're trading with Europe, Bordeaux and Lisbon and ports like that. But the Barbary pirates would, basically they had a protection racket. So if you didn't pay them some sort of tribute or some sort of money, they would capture your ships and make it very difficult for you to trade. And Americans really needed that type of trade to go on. So Tripoli is, or Cathcart rather, is in Tripoli trying to arrange those, smooth things over with the Tripolitan Bashaw. And the Bashaw has become aware that Algiers is getting paid more than he's getting paid, and this is making him unhappy. What he probably also knew is that Americans were 3 years behind in their payments to Algiers, so even though the treaty looks better on paper for Algiers, Americans weren't able to make those payments because they were just so short of cash. So the Bashaw had apparently informed Cathcart that unless he received presents, in addition to whatever tribute payments had been arranged, he was going to declare war. And Cathcart is communicating that information to the Secretary of State and indicating that they can, they have a few options. The President is supposed to respond. The Bashaw expects him to respond, not Congress, not the Secretary of State, but the President. So as long as the President responds in a reasonable amount of time, they can take a little bit of time for that response to come. Cathcart also indicates that if they are going to make payments, if they're going to make a present to the Bashaw, that will probably buy another year. And after that time, the Bashaw would probably once again become unhappy and demand some sort of payment or presents. Cathcart is also of the opinion in this letter that if the Americans were able to send ships over, it would protect their commerce. So he, I think, in another letter suggests a couple of ships would do. If they were able to send 4 ships, it would be enough to take care of the problem, and the force would overwhelm the need to send presents. Cathcart also says, or gives some of the details of other arrangements. For instance, the Danes and the Swedes are also making these protection payments. And what I found particularly interesting is he indicates how much those payments are. So he says they're paying $15,000 every 3 years, which seems like quite a bit of money. It was quite a bit of money then, and you can see the trouble that Americans were having. They don't have a lot of money in the federal government, even though they were at least operating under the Constitution instead of the Articles of Confederation. They can't pay Algiers, let alone Tripoli. They need desperately to trade in the Mediterranean, but they're not able to either protect their trade or to make the payments that they need to make.